the most important event in life? Series of drop classes, session 26. In the name of the exalted being granter, a drop of knowledge that you grant, unite me to the seas of your land Rami. Today we have some points deeply to pay attention to them.
قطره دانش بخشیدی ز پیش متصل گردان به دریاهای خویش. امروز چند تا نکته خیلی عمیق داریم که باید خوب بهش دقت کنیم.
1. What is the souvenir of spiritual life? What is its conclusion? Why are we looking for spiritual life? What we want to achieve? 2. How is the perception coefficient associated with the survival rates? 3. These tales are not useful for the person who is asleep. These tales are unmeaning for the soul asleep, and none of these issues will be taken. Well, first, what is the souvenir of spiritual life? What do we seek to live spiritual? And want to get what? Do you remember, I defined spiritual life? What is called spiritual life? Do you remember it, Mr. Goodarzi? Apprentice answers, the life inside. Teacher, what? Student, life in the world's inside? Spiritual life, it means to contact with the entire general soul, because the component must be the total, and this is the most important event in life. We can interpret it as rebirth. Rumi reminded it mostly and says, I am a part, I will be general total, as love is total, and the house of God is love that takes us home. I don't know the home. The true home of God is here. It is the soul of souls, general soul, general consciousness. We should greatly travel to reach it. We must travel in love, as Rumi reminded mostly, travel through love. In short, the spiritual life means love to be enter you. Divine spirit should enters you, and this is unity, oneness with the divine self of inside. It is the greatest fruit and gift that it, the worded by Rumi, refers to God grants us. Union with the divine self of inward. But, before it, we should pass a long way. There are so many bodies in this way are not able to continue, losing in the way, get tired, and say let go of it, like the phoenix simorg of Ether. In such a long way they are not successful because, the way is so long and troubled. So, transformation and becoming general is the meaning of spiritual life. In Devanshams we can see candles and butterflies a lot, and it is mentioned many times. Why? Maulana Rumi says that I am a butterfly and your candle exists, and I came butterfly-like to burn around you. What does it mean? What secret Rumi wants to say that repeats it many times? One of the most technical Rumi's thoughts is here, spiritual cognition. We don't need the mental knowledge of God, because God is not the mind. God is not in the world of the mind, that we know it by our mind. Philosophy and logic is not useful here. Philosophy and logic just are the gymnastics of the mind, the games of the mind that play with concepts. Therefore Rumi says that I distance the entire forms of philosophy and logic. We cannot reach the spiritual worlds by variety forms of philosophy and logic, because there is no logic in the worlds of spirituality, no cause and effect. What a beautiful world it is, the world, which is alive of light without any deficient and destruction, that human eternally live in it.
چه رازی رو میخواد مولانا بگه که اینقدر تکرارش کرده؟ یکی از تکنیکی ترین اندیشه های مولانا همینجاست، شناخت معنوی. شناخت معنوی. ما شناخت ذهنی از خدا نمیخوایم، چون خدا ذهن که نیست. خدا تو جهان ذهن که نیست، ما با ذهنمون، مفهوماتمون، میشد فلسفه و منطق اصلا اینجا هیچ به درد نمیخوره. فلسفه و منطق فقط ژیمناستیک ذهنه، بازی‌های ذهنه، با مفاهیم بازی می‌کنه. اینو من از یک آقایی که خیلی هم تعصب مذهبی داشت پرسیدم.
Well, what is the souvenir of spiritual life? Pure consciousness or absolute consciousness. Therefore, according to the phrases of Rumi and Divan of Shamsi Tabriz and Mathnavi Manavi, what does God ask us? Absolute consciousness. I asked it someone who was very much religious bigotry. He was not able to respond at all, did not understand the question. The question must first be understood. At first we should know what does God ask us? We must first understand what for we owe to God. Absolute consciousness. God wants our absolute consciousness, intelligence 360 degrees, and the souvenir of spiritual life is absolute pure consciousness. 1. God never works with limited consciousness. Many of people are ordinary. Rumi offers a terribly statistic, and of course another master few lower than Rumi's statistic. Rumi says that all are asleep, all have drunk the poison of mortality. It is the subject that we want to say, the entire current manifestation of life is not useful for the soul asleep. The ordinary life is sufficient, drinks, eats and supposes that paradise is here, and the desirable status is the life through limited consciousness. If you look at many of people, find out that their limited consciousness make them like robots, the slave and phenomena of the life, and they didn't want something more than it, they have no expect. Rumi says all have drunk the poison of mortality, and our master says that 99.999% of people are ordinary. So, see that how great is the matriculating of God. Less than 1% of people are in this way. You don't expect millions and millions of people companions and millions of peoples understand when we overture and discuss the travel through love and love path. First the window of awareness should be opened by him. If the window of consciousness not be open, nothing will happen, all walk in the desert of spirituality, as they are deaf and blind. But when human opens the window and finds a space of another life, recognizes the duty, what is my role? What is my duty in the entire universe? Therefore the answer of the question, what is the souvenir of spiritual life? Is absolute consciousness, and Rumi, the master in Divan Shams, constantly fire and fire it. It occurs when butterfly comes and burns itself, the spiritual cognition. It is not mental cognition. We need spiritual cognition. Spiritual cognition means if you want to know something, should become it, and if you want to know God, should become Palad in God. It is what Mansur Halid says, I am right in Allah, and people didn't understand and he was executed. Today, a bit of the window towards spirituality is open, and people understand a few that how is our God-like status, how do we become God-like? Just it is what Maulana Rumi expresses it secretly, what we interpret it in spiritual cognition you should transform through the object itself, must burn. What's the meaning of burning? Your me should be burnt, your me that build your false character, as self, and the 5 deviations produced by it, should be burned. There is a beautiful ghazal lyric that mentions, when you are with you, the beloved gets away of you, when you are without you, the beloved is beside you, when you are with you, you are the cloud of dew, when you are without you, you are within who, when you are with you, when you are without you. It is a very long ghazal that Rumi says about to be with self and to be without self. Be careful that he construes it as I and we, and says I without me, you without you. Not me remains for me, not you remains for you. It is the spiritual cognition that through it, the me, the unreal me of man should be born in our true identity, that is the pure spirituality, pure life and pure perception will be manifested. It was the first subject. The second issue, the relation between recognition coefficient and survival coefficient. What is the relation of them? How soon do you see people are dying? It is wonderful. In every street we can see the declaration of death for dead people. What's its secret? The survival coefficient is decreased. Why we die soon? Because the survival coefficient is decreased. Why the survival coefficient is low? Because the perception coefficient is low. The level of consciousness is decreased. People do not know how to be happy, because the soul should be always happy structurally in order to our survival coefficient increases. We should be the source of cause, and through this our soul is happy constantly. It is responsible, not ran away of responsibilities. There are some coefficients that increases our survival coefficient, but the most important is recognition coefficient. When the level of our consciousness increases, our soul will be happy constantly, in true happiness. Today that sadness covers all over the world, and the problems of war, bloodshed and pillage are discussed, because nowadays the directors of the land are neglected and unwise. As I said before session, because of the nuclear tests the earth loses its properties and becomes loose. During future, due to the diversity of these experiments, many earthquakes will occur, many tsunamis will occur, and because of it, the master emphasizes to raise spirituality, and these classes must be extended. If even lit a candle is much better than nothing. If 1,000 candles are off, you lit your own. If 1,000 crookback ones exists, you stay upright. That's your job. Know your duty and work to your extent. Never say all are slept, so I sleep. Therefore, if the level of perception coefficients in all over the world rises up, the situation will be much better than this. This is not to say that you'll be disappointed, because the world is moving towards spirituality, not toward chaos. However, the system is controlling, and those who would flow of water, swim in the opposite direction. In fact, they destroy themselves. It was the second point. The third thing that is the most important, what is passing the way of truth. If someone asks us, what is passing the way of truth is, we say that it is formed of two parts, 1 entry into inner consciousness, 2 top perception coefficient plus inner consciousness, full consciousness, absolute consciousness gives us mutation. We like mutation, that is the situation, that we have to leave to a situation, that is a comforting and hearty reach. It requires a leap. So when the mutation was found in the full consciousness of the passing the way of truth, we can reach isness. The real purpose, I feel my being isness, but not what Shakespeare says to be or not to be, that the issue is a political and war related, and is not related to our talk. Passing the way of truth means you'll be able to be one with love. Unity with the soul of souls, Janet. Oh, the soul of soul expands us to the honor, soul of souls, Rumi, the unity with love, the soul of souls, Janet. General soul or consciousness of being is the most interesting event in our lives, the most important thing in life. One day, someone said that I want to achieve the unity. When I asked him how you enter your inside, he was not able to answer. Well, if I cannot get into the inside world, I am not aware of within myself, I do not know the inside worlds, and do not find out the foundations of the soul, all these talks mean nothing to me. Someone who says I passed the way of truth. He must said that what are the elements of the soul? What are the elements of the mind, your powers and energies? And we have three kinds of imagination. One, emotional imagination we do not use at all. Two, mental imagination we do not use. Three, soul's imagination, that we use it, as Rumi interpreted as the core of the soul, and that means we passed the soul to and sailed across the core of the soul. As we move into the central core, that is me. That me is our true personality and the other me are none of our real personality and identity. Be careful, that in the third issue, someone who achieves isness beingness by the leap, reaches the full-fledged life which is the entire carrot manifestation of life. And we call it a pure life. Why it is a pure life? Because it is a supernatural life. That means I must get out of nature. I often discussed it. It means that nature is nothing but time, location and material. When we are about to get out of the time, as Einstein proved that time is relative, it is an illusion. There is nothing to name it time. Every piece of places has a special time. Right now here is a time in Turkey, a time in Germany and a time in America that are different times. To the measure of places there are times. So, time is not a real thing in the nature. There is always something in nature which is now, not past is real, not future. Our mind makes the past and future. So when this life is supernatural, is a pure life too. When does the entire carrot manifestation of life occur? When we have a supernatural life. All our endeavor is to reach superior life, if not we will be the same with other animals. Because we captured in nature and live with nature. Rumi cites, never commerce with these 2, 3 stupid men that make you stupid. You must commerce with someone who is more alert, knowledgeable, more discerning and conscious than anyone else would be. In companion with everyone, the wavelength of that one will be the same as the wavelength of this one. Question: why an addict soon makes many addicts? Because he builds wavelength. During the wavelength driving to the other person, addiction causes addiction by the same wavelength. But conversely, it is difficult for a person who has a superior spiritual consciousness to establish the superior wavelength. Therefore a superior man and the spirituality are not easily established and a few people will be aware. So I hope that God grants us success to achieve supernatural superior life. Drunk Narcissus be always with you. Hich the Master. The end of drop class, session 26, part A.